Hi everyone. Welcome to a Facebook Live event with Living Raw by Grace. I'm Haley Cloud and I will be demonstrating how to make my latest recipe, beet ravioli. All last week I described how good beets were for you and why you needed to have them in your life and how amazing they are for your health. And so this week I've been giving you recipes which include everything from beet slaw to, hi Michelle, to beet ravioli to beet top green smoothies. And I polled everyone to see which recipe they would like me to demonstrate, and beet ravioli won. So we're going to be making beet ravioli this morning. I'm going to demonstrate how to make it. It's really easy. If I did no talking at all, it would be done in like 5 minutes. But I'm going to talk my way through it, give you a little extra tips, strategies, and of course, try to make you laugh. That's what I do. So let's get started. First, the things that you need for the recipe. You need beets. Hopefully you know what a beet is by now. If not, go look at my Facebook last week and find out all amazing things about why beets are so good for you. They're good for your heart, they're good for your lungs, they're good for so many things. Your skin. Eat more beets. Pickled beets, don't get me wrong, I love some good pickled beets. They're one of my favorite little treats. But fresh raw beets in their earthy nature are still really good for you too. So I need you to learn how to eat them raw. So first things first, we've got beets. We also are going to need some raw cashews, a cup of raw cashews. I use the pieces, they're way cheaper. And you're going to blend them anyway. Well, we're going to use them in a food processor, but you're going to mix them up with other things anyway. I get my raw cashews at Winco. If you are local, if you're in the Phoenix area, Winco by far has the cheapest raw cashews anywhere else in the valley. Now, you get what you pay for, so if you don't want slightly stale cashews, if you're going to make them into something, use slightly stale cashews. But if you're going to just eat them, go to Trader Joe's. They have great quality for a good price. But I'm using Winco cashews for right now. So cashews. You're gonna need 1 lemon juiced. I'm gonna juice it for you, so I'll show you how I do that. We're gonna be using garlic. Ooh, these are gigantic cloves, by the way. I think it says 2 or 3 garlic cloves in the recipe. I'm gonna use 2 giant ones because I like garlic. You want some fresh rosemary? I have a rosemary bush outside in my patio, so I picked some fresh rosemary this morning. My fingers still smell like rosemary because I had to pull them off my tree. Now, if you are using fresh rosemary, make sure it's not a bush near your house that's been sprayed with pesticides, if possible. Try to find some good rosemary. There's a little bit of salt. A little bit of salt. And some water, and I'll show you water. So all of that is going to make the stuffing. So let's make the stuffing first. We'll make the stuffing first, and then I'll show you what to do with the beets, because that's the fun part. And I want to wait until as many people join us as possible so they can watch me do the beets. So you're going to need a food processor. I have a Cuisinart. It's lovely. All food processors do generally around the same job, but mine will last me 10 to 15 years. That's the difference. If you were to go get a $20 to $30 food processor, it'll do the job, but you're going to need another one in about a year. So I spent a little bit more money so that I could have it for a long time. And it would do a good job the length of its duration. So we're going to need the usual blade that comes with it. Looks like a hurricane symbol. Say a quick prayer for all the hurricane victims out there and the more hurricanes that keep coming. Puerto Rico, hearts are with you. So we're going to be putting our ingredients in here. I'm using a food processor today and not a Vitamix, which is my favorite tool in the whole world, because I want a chunky filling. I want it to be almost ricotta-y, but a little chunkier. If I were to use my blender, it would be this smooth, creamy sauce, which is also delicious, don't get me wrong. But for this, I want a little bit of a texture to my filling. So we're going to use a cup of cashews. Now to get a smoother texture, I'm going to grind just the cashews first. So we're going to grind those down and then add all the rest of the ingredients. So let's do that first. the rosemary, the garlic, the salt, the lemon juice. See this lovely little gadget? Anybody ever use these? This is one of my favorites, I have to say. For the price and how often I use it, it's one of my favorites. I love this thing. You get a good arm workout while you do it. You get the most efficient way to squeeze lemon juice out of a lemon. Now, if I'm only doing 1 or 2 lemons, I'm going to use this. If I'm going to do like 30 lemons, I might get a little electric lemon juicer and let it do the job. But for 1 or 2, this is amazing. Now, when you do, for those of you who have never used this before, you want to put the lemon, your brain goes, ooh, just the way it's shaped. No, 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 no. See, there's holes in the bottom. That's where the juice is coming through. So you want to flip it the other direction, the opposite way that your brain tells you. And you want to put it in so that the juice comes out the holes and you squeeze all the juice out. This is how you use this. So if you've never used it before, go get one. They're super cheap. They're like $5. And it's a great way to squeeze lemon juice out of a lemon. It's a good arm workout too. See? Yay! I'm glad that I have introduced you to this wonderful creature. All right, so that is where we're going to start. Now, we have water, and we're going to have it on hand, but depending on how juicy that lemon was, will depend on how much water I add. So the recipe calls for a half a cup of water. What I usually tell people is start your food processor and add the water to get it a little creamier as you're blending. I'll show you. All right, so I'm slowly adding the water. Add a little bit more. I'm going to scrape the sides a little bit to get all of the ingredients into the mixture. I'm going to go again. And that's it. So my lemon must have been really juicy because I only used maybe a 1/4 cup of water. Now if I had used the full cup of water, it would have been almost soupy. So it's one of those things where you start with less than what it calls for, and then you slowly add it in until you get the consistency that you want. Water is the only ingredient that you have complete control over. I can't control how much lemon juice is in that lemon, although I could measure it out and then put it in the recipe. I think some cookbooks do that. So, but water's one of those, I want more lemon juice and less water if possible. So, here we go. So when you're done, you're left with what looks kind of like a thick mayonnaise. I like to think of it as ricotta. That's kind of what I'm going for here. Smells good. We need smell-o-vision. Can you guys smell it out there? All right, now we get to the fun part. And I say fun part because it's fun part. So let's work with a mandolin. Has you guys ever used a mandolin before? Yeah? By a show of hands, who has cut themselves on a mandolin before? Yeah. Okay, so it's a rite of passage. We all have. It happens. Don't freak out. It might happen to you, and that's okay. Let me show you how to not cut yourself on a mandolin. Let me show you the tips and tricks that I've learned, because I have cut myself a few times. I have since bought a better mandolin so that I cut myself less. But let me show you how I've learned to use it so that you don't cut yourself. Now, if you have really good knife skills and you can cut a beet super thin with just a knife, go for it. I cannot. I am not classically trained. culinarily. I don't think I can use that word like that. But, so I use a mandolin. It gets really thin sliced, and it works perfectly. I want a really thin sliced beet for this, so that the filling takes over the flavor. Don't get me wrong, I like beets. They're a little earthy, which is the polite way of saying they kind of taste like dirt. So I want the filling to really take the main stage of this dish. So first, let's prep the beet. Now if you can see, see, I've got beets with their greens attached, and I'm gonna cut off those greens and use them in a smoothie later. I'm so excited. And I use the whole thing, stems and everything. So I've already cut off a beet, so I cut a beet off. I cut off the tip. I'm gonna throw all of this into a smoothie, even this little piece right here. That's going into a smoothie later. And then I took my peeler and I peeled the beet. By the way, I peeled the beet under running water because it gets messy. So it's much easier to peel something that looks like blood while you're running water over everything. It's much cleaner and neater for my slight OCD. But make sure you are careful while you're peeling, because if you nick yourself, you'll never know because it's red and it looks like you're bleeding anyway. So peel your beet, and the beets are kind of tiny, so it's a gentle. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Don't sneeze. Okay, it passed. So it's a gentle thing. Now here's my peeled beet. Peeled beet. Difference. Let me show you the difference. Not peeled, peeled. Right? Different. So the skin, I've learned, is the majority of the earthiness of beets. So once you peel it off, it's a little more subtle, which is kind of nice. So then you take this beet. Now you can see the flat part. See the flat part where I cut off the stem? So if you were to line these up, they would match. So here's my flat part. This part is what's going to be on the blade of my mandolin because it's already nice and flat. If I were to try to use this bumpy side, then it wouldn't work as well. So flat side. Flat side, you want a flat side. Now if you peeled the whole thing and it's all bumpy, cut off one side so that you have a flat side to begin with. All right. Mandolin, here we go. So, my tricks and tips for using a mandolin. First things first, always, 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 mandolin away from you. A lot of people tend to put the mandolin side by side, and they're just doing gently to one side, or if you're left-handed to the other side. I have learned always to mandolin away from me. Now this is going to be a little messy, so I'm going to put something underneath. I'm going to get a paper towel. There we go. All right, so I'm mandolining away from me. Now, everybody who's ever cut themselves on a mandolin, it's usually your fingertips, right? Okay, so stop using your fingertips with the mandolin. Seems like an easy answer, right? So instead of wrapping my fingers around here and then, wow, what I'm going to do is put my the heel of my hand, this meaty section, this muscle I've got right here, this is going to be doing all of the work. My fingertips never get anywhere near. I don't wrap around. They don't get anywhere close. They stay up in the air, far away from the blade. For those of you who are looking for a mandolin, you can find them almost anywhere. The first time I bought this one, I got it at Target. It's the OXO brand. I love this one because it has an adjustable blade, so it can make really, really thin or really, really thick. Awesome. I love adjustable blades. I've played with so many different mandolins out there, and this one, I'm going to make the thinnest I can possibly make, which is a 1.5 millimeter thin. Sliced. All right. So remember, so any grocery store, I'm sure Amazon has a billion. Everybody sells mandolins these days, which is kind of nice. The more money you spend for mandolin, the sharper the blade, the longer it lasts, the less you cut yourself. So this is my second OXO brand mandolin. I like the V-shaped blade. I find that it's sharper and I get a way better quality and consistency when I'm slicing on my mandolin. So, using the palm of your hand, remember, reinforcing this over and over and over. And I'm just going to push down as I move down. Look at this. And you're left with this little itty bitty, thin, flexible chip, beet chip. Ah, Kim, you know they sell metal gloves just so you can be crazy with a knife and with a mandolin? I've honestly thought about buying a metal glove just in case, or you can learn how to do it properly and never cut yourself again. I like teaching that. Okay, so I'm gonna make a bunch of these. And honestly, one beet, pink finger, one beet is more than enough to make all the ravioli slices that you're gonna need for this dish. And even this little itty bitty guy, this will be more than enough. More than enough. All right, I'm going to abuse my mandolin. Do you see? See my fingertips? See the tips? Whoop, up in the air, not even looking. Look at it. Look at it. Now, when you get to the part where your brain goes, stop. That's your brain telling you to stop. So listen to it, stop using it, walk away, clean it off, but don't be like, ooh, I think I'm getting one more slice out of this. Don't. Don't. All right. I love the different rings of beets. Can you see this? Doesn't it look so pretty? It's so pretty. Oh, so pretty. So we're gonna put filling inside this lovely little thing right here. I'm gonna be so red by the time I'm done with this recipe. FYI, maybe that's another reason to have a metal glove, huh? No red fingers. Okay, so let's make some raviolis. Need a spoon. I'm going to use a little teaspoon. Okay, so you take your filling and your slices. I'm going to put a little filling, about a teaspoon. Now there's two ways to do this. The way I showed in the picture that I posted with the recipe yesterday is you take your filling and you simply close it up like this, right? Can you see that? And then you just have like this little this little ravioli pocket. Or you can get a little bit more filling and put 2 rounds on top of each other. And now you have a little stuffed ravioli if you want it this way. I did. I'm telling you, there are ways to use a mandolin that are safe, secure, and produce great results. All right, so you have 2 ways. You can make halves and just fold them in half, or you can make rounds. Now these are going to be a little more beety, so if you're not a lover of beets, this might be the way to go. But you can make both. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to make a couple. Actually, I'm not going to make a whole bunch right now because you just watched me make it. And that my ladies and gentlemen, are beet raviolis. What I tend to do is if I'm presenting this to somebody, I get a couple sprigs of rosemary and just kind of drizzle them on top. I have a marinara sauce that is amazing, that is wonderful, sprinkled on this, also delicious. Just kind of pops more flavors popping in your mouth. It's amazing. Or you can eat these straight. These tend to be, little snacks for me. Sometimes I'll have a whole plate full and then there'll be a meal. But they're amazing. So, beet ravioli. Who knew? Huh? Isn't that incredible? So let me just show you how many. So if I wanted to just simply fold these in half, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I still have some beet left. This makes about 20 to 25, depending on the thickness of your mandolin, 20 to 25 raviolis if you're using them in half. Cut that in half if you're going to use a beet on top and a beet on the bottom and make a little sandwich. So very often I'll just make the whole batch, eat them all, and then I'm done. If you want to save these, they're good for at least a week in the fridge. But what I would do is keep them separate. So I would put the filling into a reusable container, put that in the fridge. I would take all of these rounds, put them in a reusable container, put that in the fridge, keep them separate, and then make them fresh every time I wanted to make them. And delicious. Look at my fingers. You are going to be a little stained after this recipe, so some soap afterwards. Take that lemon, as long as you don't have any cuts on your hands. Or, good way to find out, rub this on your fingers. This is my used rind that I used. Rub this on your fingers, takes the lemon juice right out. Also, takes out the smell of garlic and onions. If you decided to peel your garlic and now you have garlic fingers, rub some lemon juice on your fingers when you're washing them, takes it out. So, you've got lots of little tips and strategies. We've got some beet raviolis, and I hope to see beet ravioli pictures flooding my timeline on Facebook over the next week because you decided to make it after watching me make it. Did you see how fast that was? It's 12:21. I've been live for like 20 minutes. I talk a lot. It doesn't take that long. You can do it on your own. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you're enjoying your fresh raw beets, and if not beets, beet tops in your smoothies. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them below. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.